Hi everyone, welcome to Miss Adams Predicts Macbeth. This video is going to have a little look at all of the past papers from the Edexcel homeboard Macbeth paper. So we're going to be having a little look at all of the extracts that have come up in part A and then all of the wider themes that have come up in part B. See if we can spot any kind of interesting commonalities, links, anything that we've not seen very much of in the past, just to help give your revision a steer. It's super important to remember that we do not have crystal balls. This is just an interesting look at what has come up. Make sure you are revising broadly and widely so you're prepared no matter what happens on the day. But for now, let's get predicting.
Okay, so last year's paper was gorgeous. It was taken from the end of Act 5 between Macduff and Macbeth, which I think had been a long time coming, doing some of the battle scenes of Act 5. The year before, we had Lady Macbeth in Act 1, Scene 7, another lovely paper. Year before that, Act 3, we had Banquo's Ghost. It's been relatively well spread out across the acts. Nothing is a kind of obvious we've not had this act yet, but I did think to myself, I wonder about Act 2, because although we have had the dreadful Porter scene, Act 2, Scene 3, where everyone was horrified to see that on the paper, and in the sample, we've had the very famous part from Act 2, Scene 2, post the death with Lady Macbeth being in control. What we haven't had is anything like the big responses to Duncan's death. So Act 2, Scene 3 might be an interesting one to practice, you know, where Macduff discovers the body, Macbeth is super disingenuous, Malcolm and Donalbain decide to leave because there's daggers in men's smiles. It's a really powerful scene, so that's definitely worth a look at. Likewise in Act 3, yes, like I said, we've had Banquo's Ghost and we've had Banquo and Macbeth talking, but what we haven't had is anything to do with Macbeth's own fears and anguish surrounding Banquo and his decision to kill Banquo. Crikey, it would be scary, but you could get the murderers bit, you know, where Macbeth talks to the murderers. But you could also maybe get something about the way that he keeps Lady Macbeth outside of the loop, and as a sign of their kind of deteriorating relationship, that might be a possibility as well. Now, the other thing that I considered is the fact that so far, across any of these papers, we've not had a soliloquy as an extract. And that would be perhaps an interesting thing to practice with. You know, you could look at his soliloquy in Act 1, Scene 7. Again, in Act 2, there's the soliloquy, is this a dagger? In Act 2, Scene 1, we've got the to be thus is nothing but to be safely thus soliloquy about Banquo from Act 3. So that might be worth a shout. Obviously, it's impossible really to predict an extract because there are so many choices. And for example, just because, you know, Act 1, Scene 7 has come up here, it doesn't mean that, you know, from the later part of it, doesn't mean that you're not going to get a soliloquy from the beginning part of it. So just practice. That's the most important thing. Get super confident with working your way through an extract. Take your copy of Macbeth, open it up, and do some analysis based on the page that has fallen, just to kind of get you into that habit. Okay, so in terms of the big theme question, we've had some biggies. So last year was violence, gorgeous. We've had power, fear, ambition, death, evil, guilt, control. You'll notice they are all themes. You're not going to get a character question for this exam board, unlike some of the other ones. So thinking about stuff that we've not really seen very much of yet. So supernatural still continues to be one that I would hope for you, because it means that the theme is the supernatural, but you can really rely on the characters of the witches, which is obviously really useful in their influence on Macbeth. The only thing that we've had close to that is in the specimen with the importance of predictions. The notion of betrayal or loyalty, do you know what I mean? Seeing it like those kind of opposites of one another, that is yet to really be seen. Other than, again, specimen paper, we've had deceit, which is obviously quite similar to betrayal possible. Everyone has been scared of kingship. coming up. I've still not seen it, but it is a big theme and therefore could come up. And then a couple of other thoughts I had. We've had evil, but like the kind of notion of good versus evil, and likewise appearance versus reality. Those two we've seen on the international Edexcel Macbeth paper, and sometimes you do see commonalities between the two. But as ever, you know the drill: revise broadly and widely across a range of themes and you will be fine. That's it from me. I hope the revision is going well. Do check out my videos on some of these ideas just to help give you a steer. And if you're finding these videos useful, then do share them about, because, you know, we're all in the same boat. That's it from me. Thanks so much. Happy revising.